Okay folks, this is the 2021 Lexus RCF Fuji Speedway Edition. The Speedway Edition means that there are only 60 of these made this year, so this is probably the rarest Lexus on sale right now. And this has a starting price of $97,000. Now the regular RCF starts at about $67,000. $66,000, so this is about $30,000 more. So what do you get for your extra $30,000? Well, you can start off with this gorgeous carbon fiber hood. Look at the weave in here, really beautiful. And then we've got a front lip, which is also in carbon fiber, and these little arrow pieces over here. Then we have carbon ceramic brakes front and rear. These are 6-piston Brembos up front. I think these are 14.9 inches. Then we have a carbon fiber side skirt. We've got a gorgeous carbon fiber roof. In the rear, of course, carbon ceramics also. Those are dual piston. And then at the back, we have a fixed wing with this lovely F right here. I don't know if you can see that in the carbon fiber. And this is lighter than the regular wing on the regular RCF, which is a movable adaptive wing. So all these carbon fiber bits, oh, there's one more back here too. The rear valence is also carbon fiber, and the exhaust, the muffler, and the connecting pipes are titanium. So all of this saves 167 pounds compared to the regular RCF, and this weighs 3,781 pounds. Now the star of the show, why this is an RCF, is this beautiful V8 under the hood. This is the 2UR GSE 5-liter V8, makes 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque, and naturally aspirated, and it has this secondary air intake, which gives you induction noises starting from about 2,800 RPM. This cabin is gorgeous. This is in circuit red. It's the only color it comes in. Continuing the carbon fiber theme, we have this red inlay carbon fiber here, absolutely gorgeous. We have alcantara here, we have leather here. These seats are super comfortable. I hope you like red, because this is the only color that the interior comes in with the Fuji Speedway Edition. So the interior is a little bit last generation, not gonna lie, but I don't mind it at all. We got more beautiful red carbon fiber here, these red leather inserts here. Let's start it up. We have the Lexus trackpad, of course, not very good, but it's all right. The HVAC controls are pretty much last generation, but they're pretty easy to use. This has the Harman Kardon sound system, the Mark Levinson sound system, which is absolutely awesome. And then we have a display which has a mix of analog and digital gauges. You can see I'm not getting very good gas mileage here, 14.9 so far. And this does have a couple different modes. We've got Eco, Normal, Sport, and Sport Plus. And this also has a launch control. This is an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's the only transmission you can get. And it is mated, of course, to the 5-liter V8, 32 valves. And it sounds really good. We're going to get to that in just a second. Of course, over here we have the classic Lexus clock. And the build quality in here is really nice. It's really high. Sorry, it's a little bit dirty. I've been driving it for the last week. We got paddle shifters, of course, and we have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And those are you still need to plug in. They're not wireless yet, unfortunately. The infotainment system, it's not a touchscreen. It's a little bit last generation, but you don't buy this car necessarily for the infotainment system, although the Mark Levinson audio system is rather good. All right, let's put it in drive. And we're just going to start out in normal mode, which gives fairly conservative shift points and fairly conservative throttle mapping. You can also put it in Eco, which is not very exciting in the display. It kind of goes blank. You can't even tell what RPM you're going at. Very conservative. The throttle's not responsive. Normal mode. kind of is. This revs out to 7,300 RPM. I'm going to put it in Sport S+, which is the most aggressive mode, gives me the most aggressive throttle mapping, so we can hear what the shifts sound like and see what this engine sounds like. All right, I think we're good. So it is quite quick, and it sounds really, really great. Lexus says this does 0 to 60 in 3.69 seconds, or actually 3.96 seconds, so 4 seconds. We're just going to round it up. All right, one more time. Probably tell from my head bobbing up and down that the suspension is fairly firm. When you got it in the Sport S Plus mode, the adaptive suspension goes into the firmest setting. So I'm going to take it off and just put it into normal mode, and you get a couple different settings. So in normal mode you get normal shift points and the softer suspension setting. In sport mode you still get the softer suspension setting, but you also get more aggressive shift points. And it's only in Sport S Plus that you get the stiffest suspension setting and the most aggressive shift points. Now it does have paddles, so you can just shift it yourself, which I kind of like actually. Second gear, part throttle. The shifts are very quick. They change depending on what mode you're in. So if you're in normal or economy mode, shifts are a little softer, a little slower, but if you're in sport or Sport S Plus, or you're in manual mode, they're pretty quick. It's pretty responsive. Paddles are pretty responsive, I would say, and you know they shift quickly enough. Okay, let's see if we can go around a corner here. This does corner quite well. The ride is greatly improved when you're in any of the modes except Sport S Plus. The suspension in here is double wishbone up front, and then you've got a multi-link setup in the rear. And this actually has a revised steering rack mounting as well, which is 150% stiffer than the normal RCF. This actually has the same specs as the track edition from 2020 in terms of all the performance in here. So the steering is quite good. When you put it in Sport S Plus mode, you get less assist, and so that makes the steering feeling a little bit better, a little bit heavier, but overall the communication that you get of the road is quite good in this car. You can really tell what's going on. Like I said before, it is quite firm. You actually do get a lot of cabin noise in here, partly because of the tires, even though this is a very smooth bit of road. These are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. They're quite good tires, they're quite sticky. We do have a fair bit of noise. I'm doing 54 miles per hour right now. A lot of road noise coming in here, and there's a lot of vibration coming in here too, even though I'm in the softer suspension setting. So it is quite firm compared to any other F Sport product that I've driven. After all, the F line is really more akin to BMW M or AMG, and F Sport is more like, you know, the M line that you get from BMW. So just with the M badges, but not a real M car. So that's what the F stands for here. And it's really great that Lexus is putting this incredible motor into a number of cars still at this point. And what makes this car super unique is that this is really the only car that I can think of, aside from the Mustang, that you get a two-door coupe with a big V8 under the hood, naturally aspirated at that. There's no turbos in here. There's no fake sounds. All the noise that you get is the real deal. And the engine is amazing. It has a really linear throttle response because it's naturally aspirated. You've got no turbos in here, so you press the gas and you get an instant response from the engine. There's no turbo lag, and the torque builds up really nice and smoothly. It's actually got a fair bit of torque off the line, but you get maximum torque in here at 4,500 all the way up to 5,600. So you've got about, you know, 1,000 or so RPM of maximum torque, and then it starts to fall off. But it builds up nice and progressively. So it doesn't give you that big turbo push that you get with a lot of other cars. Pretty much every other modern car right now has turbos in it. So you don't get that. So it doesn't feel that fast in the mid-range, because lower down in the mid-range, the torque isn't as, you know, it's just not as brutal as a turbo car, for example. And this only has 395 pound-feet of torque. Still pretty good, actually, but, you know, by turbo standards, it's a little bit lower. So it doesn't have that sort of brutality to it. But this is a Lexus product, after all. And, you know, Lexus isn't really about the numbers when you get right down to it. Lexus, in my opinion, is more about the feel and the driver interaction and the driver experience that you get. And I think that Lexus has sort of become the BMW of the 90s in the way when you had the ultimate driving machine. You had sort of a real focus on the driver. Lexus has gone in that direction now with something called Lexus Driving Signature, and it's really centered on the driver. It's about having inputs that are linear. It's about having inputs that are easy to predict. It's about having a car that is easy to drive quickly, that you sort of drive harmoniously with the car, and that all of your controls are weighted about equally, so you don't have you know, a gas pedal that's too heavy, or a brake that's too heavy, or steering that's too heavy. They're all weighted about the same, and that's part of the Lexus Driving Signature. There's also a lot of suspension refinement that they have done in this car. This has got a very, very sophisticated suspension, in my opinion, and it doesn't really have that little bit of Lexus softness that you get in some other products like the F Sport products. This is very firm all the way from the beginning of the stroke down to the end of the stroke, and the adaptive dampers do a very good job of maintaining body control in here, especially fore aft. There's excellent body control when you're cornering. There is almost no roll in here at all. Its corner is very, very flat. About this car is that it's sold as an F car. It's sold as a track car. This is the Fuji Speedway edition. It's the same as the track edition last year in terms of performance. This has two different colors available, though, in this circuit red interior. But when you're buying a car that is sort of marketed as the track-focused one, the most hardcore one, this is the most hardcore RCF that you can buy. it is sort of a numbers game when you get right down to it, and people do buy these cars based on numbers, and this car is by no means slow, but it is not as fast as the competition. That's just sort of how it is. 0 to 60 is 4 seconds, and the competition is there too, but 0 to 60 isn't really that great of a benchmark because you're really dealing with traction. This does the quarter mile, I think, about a second slower than the BMW Z4. I think this is around 12.8 if I'm not mistaken, and I think the BMW is around 11.8, something like that. So even though this has, you know, it's a little bit lighter, it has about the same amount of power, you know, BMW always really sort of underrates their engines. You've always got more power than tunnel. BMW always gives you more power than they say, so their cars are, you know, classically kind of underrated. It's probably why the BMW is quicker. So let me know if you have any questions down below. Let me know if you want me to do more POV drives. I've got a full review of this car coming up in a couple of weeks. And thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe. My name is Eric. I'll see you in the next video.